Today marks 1 month since an explosion that destroyed a business in Marengo.
And that explosion hurt more than a dozen people, as there are still questions today into how it happened.
Plus, we're just a couple of hours away from Governor Kim Reynolds laying out her plans for the 2023 state legislature and the work she wants lawmakers to get done.
It's been a year and a half since a husband and wife, along with their daughter, were shot and killed in their Cedar Rapids home. Prosecutors say their son pulled the trigger, and now his trial is getting underway.
And it's been since May that some United Auto Worker members walked off the job to strike in eastern Iowa. They just had their first chance to vote on a new contract with CNH Industrial, and we're looking at the results.
From your trusted local news source with your first alert forecast, KCRG-TV9 News First at 4 starts now.
Well, good afternoon to you. Welcome to First at 4 and the debut of our brand new, beautiful set. We're going to be taking a look at our brand new space throughout our newscast this evening.
I'm afraid of leaving any smudge marks.
I know, don't touch it.
Cannot do that. And Joe, it is a set that we've been eager to start to use, and we do want to get to you first as you give us a look at the First Alert forecast in your weather lab.
Yeah, again, a wide weather lab, a big weather lab. We're not kind of confined as we were in our previous weather lab. All the computers set and ready to go, so it'll be easy to bring you weather as well as severe weather and winter coverage here from the new weather lab. Let's go ahead and take a look at our Solon City Cam. That's where we'll begin. And you do notice that once again we are looking at some partly sunny skies. Our Solon City Cam live right now, as we can see, with again a mix of sun and clouds we've seen through the day. But today has been cooler than we saw yesterday. 34 degrees in Cedar Rapids, Dubuque at 33, 39 in Iowa City, 26 in Waterloo, and Solon right now at 39. The air not moving a whole lot, so there's not going to be a big change this evening. This evening we remain quiet. However, as we work through the overnight hours, and we're talking after midnight, particularly for your morning commute tomorrow, there'll be the possibility of seeing some areas of freezing drizzle, maybe a little wintry mix. You know what that means. That could cause some slick travel conditions. Overnight low dips down into the upper 20s. Coming up, we'll take a look at Pinpoint Futurecast, which again has some timing for some of that freezing drizzle, and a look ahead at the second storm that'll hit us this week.
All right, thank you, Joe. On this second day of the new legislative session, Governor Kim Reynolds is about to lay out her plan for what she wants lawmakers to work on this session.
She'll be giving her annual Condition of the State address from the House chambers tonight. Now, afterwards, Democrats from both the House and the Senate will give their response. The Condition of the State starts at 6 o'clock tonight, and we'll listen to some of that address on the TV9 News at 6, and then break down her speech for you on the TV9 News at 10. Today also marks a month since a workplace explosion shook the town of Marengo and destroyed a business. About 15 people were hurt at the C60, a biodiesel facility that recycles roof shingles. We still don't know what officially caused the explosion. A report showed Iowa's Department of Natural Resources tried to visit the plant a number of times, including just days before the explosion, but they weren't allowed inside. The city of Iowa City has also previously announced that it did not find any contaminants in their drinking water. Concerns came up as the plant is near the Iowa River and flows down to Iowa City.
Jury selection is underway in the trial of a Cedar Rapids man accused of killing his family in their home. KCRG-TV9's Kristen Rogers will be covering the trial for Alexander Jackson. So let's start first, Kristen, with a look back at this case. What happened?
So, Nicole, it all started when Cedar Rapids police received a phone call from Alexander Jackson himself. That was in June of 2021. He told them that an armed intruder came into his family's home on Oakleaf Court Northeast. You're looking at video here now. That's near Xavier High School. And Jackson told police that he woke up to the sound of gunshots and that he was shot in the foot during a struggle with an intruder. But police arrived to find no evidence of a forced entry or any burglary. Instead, they found the bodies of Jackson's father, his mother, and his 19-year-old sister. Each of them had been shot. And police also found the gun believed to be the weapon that was used in the killings, Nicole.
So Jackson made the phone call, denied that he did it, said that there was an intruder who came into the home, had an injury on his own foot to back up that claim. Did he make any other statements?
Yeah, so he did. According to the criminal complaint for the case, Jackson told police that his father had recently told him that he needed to get a job or move out. Now, it's unclear at this point whether that will be the motive that prosecutors argue at trial, but we do know that they've submitted autopsy photos of each of Jackson's slain family members, as well as photos taken at the crime scene for evidence. And we do also anticipate there to be some surveillance video, Ring doorbell cams, things of that nature, to see, you know, whether there was any sort of intruder in the area. Of course, prosecutors say there was not.
Sure. Now, we're saying the trial starts today. That does begin with jury selection. So is there any indication how long that process will take, and then how long we can expect the trial to take as well?
So they're estimating that the trial will take 9 days. Of course, that can always vary, but according to court filings, potential jurors are being given a supplemental questionnaire to help in the selection process. That's not something that always happens, and we don't know exactly what questions are on that document, but we do know that they were given that document today to fill out, and that those questions were agreed on by both parties. Now, once a jury is selected, testimony will begin, and the defense has listed 11 potential witnesses. It's unclear how many witnesses the prosecutors will call.
This was really a shock to the community, and there was a vigil at the time held at Kennedy High School. We heard from friends at that time as well, especially his sister Sabrina.
Yeah, that's right. That's where we were able to talk with a friend of Alexander Jackson's 19-year-old sister, Sabrina. She had just graduated from Kennedy High School the year before, and this took place over the summer. So there were many people home from college, I remember, at this vigil. And a friend there told us that she was a kind person. We also know she was super involved at Kennedy High School. She was on the speech team that went to state. She was also part of the school band. Again, Sabrina was just 19 years old. Her mother, Melissa, was 68, and her father, Jan, was just 61.
And this trial just getting underway with jury selection for the murder trial of Alexander Jackson. Kristen will be covering that trial as it does get underway in the courtroom. So join us throughout the trial here on TV9 as well as KCRG.com. Kristen, thank you.
Thanks.
Marshalltown police say a man faces several charges, including attempted murder, after they say he severely beat his 78-year-old father. Police say 47-year-old Scott Schwartz assaulted his father on Saturday. Officers arrested him yesterday. The father went to a hospital for emergency care. Police have not yet updated his condition, and it's not clear what led to the assault.
Members of the United Auto Workers Union said no deal to a new contract with Case New Holland Industrial Plant, or CNH. That means more than 1,000 workers in Iowa and Wisconsin will extend a strike that actually began back in May. 55% of members voted no on what CNH called its last, best, and final offer. The company says the offer included wage increases of 25 to 38% over 4 years. Members in Racine, Wisconsin carried the no votes, causing the deal to fail. Iowa union members are also from a plant in Burlington, and some say workers were unhappy with an insurance policy impacting future CNH employees. UAW officials say they're working on their next steps. In a statement to our affiliate WQAD, CNH actually writes in part that company strongly encourages the union to allow the employees to reconsider their position in another vote so that employees can return to work. Other UAW members have joined the picket line in Burlington to show their support. Back in July, members who work for Deere & Company joined them. They had gone on strike in the fall of 2020, you may remember, for their own contract. Deere UAW members say they were standing together for better wages, retirement benefits, and health insurance. They went on strike for 35 days in the fall of 2020 for their own contract.
Dubuque's Park and Rec Commission is getting more input on a proposal to build a new public pool to replace 2 others. Starting at 4:30, the commission will continue to discuss plans to create a group that would study plans to replace both the Sutton and Flora pools. The Telegraph-Herald reports Sutton Pool was built in 1936, Flora Pool built in 1955. Both were renovated in the 1990s. The city says it may be less expensive to build a new pool rather than to maintain these 2 old ones. An event is getting underway right now to help raise awareness about radon. It is part of Radon Awareness Month. People can go to the Hy-Vee at Logan Plaza in Waterloo until 6 o'clock tonight, and while there, they can learn more about radon and buy short-term testing kits for $10. Experts say 5 out of 7 homes in Iowa have dangerously elevated levels of this gas, but many Iowans don't understand the health risks. The only way to know if a home has radon is to test for it. It's a naturally occurring gas and can cause lung cancer. There are 4 other events planned for this month in Cedar Falls and Waterloo.
The leaders of the U.S., Canada, and Mexico are getting down to business as they hold a one-day summit.
One of the top priorities, migration and the surge at the U.S.-Mexico border.
And coming up in our next half hour, we're looking at some of the new developments coming to Cedar Rapids after the City Council gave approval today. So stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9.
Your trusted local news source with Nicole Agee, Jim Mertens, and Chief Meteorologist Joe Winters. You're watching KCRG-TV9 News, first at 4.
President Biden is in Mexico today, reaffirming the 2 countries' commitment to deal with irregular migration. The president visited the border for the first time on Sunday before heading to Mexico City, and he's meeting with leaders of Mexico as well as Canada.
And Karen Travers has more on the meeting and what leaders hope to come out of it.
The leaders of the U.S., Canada, and Mexico posing for photos here in Mexico City before getting down to business. On the agenda for today's one-day North American Leaders Summit, migration, supply chains, and drug smuggling and trafficking. Before the meetings got underway, the 3 countries already announcing minor agreements on those issues, including a commitment to increased information sharing on chemicals used in the illicit manufacturing of fentanyl and other synthetic drugs, and working together to try to encourage migrants to apply for legal status. Facing major criticism for the influx of migrants at the U.S. southern border, the White House downplayed expectations for any major breakthroughs at this summit. Under the new plan announced last week by President Biden, the U.S. will immediately expel migrants from Nicaragua, Venezuela, Haiti, and Cuba who cross the border illegally. Mexico has agreed to take 30,000 per month. President Biden squeezing in some one-on-one time with both leaders, sitting down Monday night with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
Mexico is a true partner, and when we work together in common values and mutual respect, nothing much is beyond our reach.
And meeting earlier Tuesday with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
I think what we should be doing, and we are doing, is demonstrating the unlimited economic potential that we have when we work together.
President Biden accepted an invitation from Prime Minister Trudeau to visit Canada in March. This will be the president's first time visiting Canada since taking office. Karen Travers, ABC News, traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Now, your first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Joe Winters.
Again, our weather is quiet this evening, and it's going to stay quiet as we move through the evening hours. However, as we work through the overnight and morning hours, that's what we're going to watch. Here's a look at your first alert. First of all, 2 things highlighted, some rain and some ice. The rain we're highlighting from around midnight all the way through noon tomorrow maybe could continue. That's some patchy areas of drizzle. With that, temperatures down near freezing. Guess what? Ice highlighted, slick roads certainly possible, especially overnight into the morning hours. Kai will have updated road conditions certainly tomorrow morning. Here's the low responsible. It's moving across areas of the plains. Very weak system in nature, but you can see by 10 o'clock it'll break out a little light precipitation back across western areas of Iowa, portions of southern Minnesota, and then that low moves toward us, and as it does, it'll bring that precipitation across eastern Iowa. Light though it may be, we know it doesn't take much icy precipitation to cause problems on the roadways. You're going to want to watch for that. Here's a look at Pinpoint Futurecast. 6 o'clock tonight, we're quiet. Clouds are thickening back up across the area, and there you go. Notice by midnight, all the way through about 6 a.m., we still are seeing some pockets of precipitation. I don't expect this clearing to move in. I think it's probably going to be mostly cloudy with some patchy fog or drizzle as we head through most of the day. Then Wednesday evening, more of a northerly flow of air, and watch what happens Wednesday night. Notice that precipitation into Thursday morning. We have some scattered areas of showers that could be with us in the form of a wintry mix. That again, Thursday morning, especially south, could bring that possibility of some slippery travel. So a couple times we certainly need to watch. Here's our zone cast for tonight. Mostly cloudy skies, patchy drizzle or a little bit of a wintry mix. That could come in the form of freezing drizzle. 25 in Elkader, 27 in Dubuque. In Waterloo, we're at 26, 22 degrees in West Union. Mostly cloudy skies, patchy drizzle in the mix. In our central zone, 28 in Cedar Rapids. Notice notice everyone below freezing, 29 in Iowa City in our southern zone. Therein lies the problem. Tomorrow, normal high is 27. We'll see 43 degrees in Prairie du Chien, 42 in Dubuque, 39 in Cedar Rapids, 43 in Iowa City. And through the day, we're expecting mostly cloudy skies, some of that patchy drizzle and a north wind expected around 5 to 15. Now, as we look farther down the road, there's another storm system that's moving our way. In fact, it looks like we are going to continue to see another area of low pressure develop back across the plains. As that low moves out across areas of southern Missouri back into Indiana, it does spread that moisture back that we showed you on Pinpoint Futurecast a little bit earlier. And then behind that, some quieter air, and for a couple of days anyway, it does look like some cooler conditions. That would be on Thursday and Friday as the northwest winds are with us. Thursday, keep in mind, we are going to deal with some stronger winds. Let's take a look at our 9-day forecast. Wednesday, that chance of some icy precipitation, especially in the morning, drizzle and fog on and off through the day. 30 on Thursday, a little bit of a wintry mix early in the day, and then Friday, things look pretty quiet, about 29 degrees. We head into the weekend, 38 degrees. Look at that high by Sunday and Monday, though. If you have some late weekend plans, mid-40s are back with us. Looks like we'll see a chance of some rain on Monday, and then maybe a little rain-snow mix on Tuesday, but all in all, nothing cold as far as this first alert forecast.
And if you still have holiday decor up, it's a great opportunity to take
Which
that
I do, because the Christmas season really didn't officially end until the 9th or 10th of January, so I left mine up. Now it's time to take it down. You certainly have a chance as we head into Saturday to get it down.
Well, you guys have plans.
We do. You want to come help?
Oh, no. Threw out my shoulder. Some families in the U.S. are making claims of medical facilities playing God when it comes to the lives of their loved ones. What it has to do with the do not resuscitate orders. We'll tell you about that, so stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9.
Winter in Iowa can be a mess. Snow, wind, ice, but not if you're prepared with your KCRG-TV9 First Alert Storm Team. They know Iowa winters from years of experience, so you can trust they know what's coming. The First Alert Weather app puts that trust in the palm of your hand. Stuck at home? Find us on your favorite streaming devices. Just search KCRG for 24-hour weather updates. Be prepared for Iowa's winters with your First Alert Storm Team on your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9. Be prepared for Iowa's winters with your First Alert Storm Team on your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9.
Let's go places.
KCRG-TV9 weather is sponsored by Tri-Volt Herbicide.
Some families in the U.S. are claiming medical facilities are simply playing God with the lives of vulnerable patients. It involves orders for do not resuscitate, or DNRs, and people with mental disabilities.
Now, families say their loved ones are getting DNRs without them knowing. Andy Parati spoke to some families who say their loved ones died too soon.
Leona Milne's family remembers her as their biggest baseball fan.
She was a tremendous Braves fan.
Today, her younger brother is left to visit her here.
How did you find out that she passed away?
I walked in and found her dead.
It all happened here at Roselane Health and Rehabilitation Center in Marietta, Georgia in April 2018. The 73-year-old was admitted to help her walk again following foot surgery, a temporary stay. But within days, nurses noticed something wrong.
They called and said she was having a little trouble breathing.
Chuck says he begged the nurses to call an ambulance, the hospital less than a mile away, but they wouldn't do it. That's because Leona had signed this, a DNR, or do not resuscitate order, which prohibits medical staff from performing life-saving measures like CPR if a person's heart stops.
And I said, you don't understand, she's not capable of signing a DNR.
Why wasn't she capable? Leona grew up with a mental disability her entire life, the cognitive ability of a 9 or 10-year-old as an adult.
Mike Prieto represents Leona's family in a pending wrongful death lawsuit against Dr. Sarah Sampadham, the facility's former medical director and the physician ultimately responsible for Leona's care.
When we first looked at the case, we really just looked at it on whether or not Ms. Milne had mental capacity to execute a DNR. It wasn't until later that the rest of the story came out.
This is a DNR form for Miss Milne.
The rest of the story revealed itself during this 2021 deposition of a social worker who worked at Rose Lane. Like many states, Georgia law requires 2 doctors and an ethics committee to sign off on any DNR ordered for someone mentally disabled or incapacitated. The social worker said none of that happened at Rose Lane. In Leona's case, her DNR was photocopied with 2 doctor signatures already on it before the form was ever given to Leona. One of the doctors resigned before Leona was ever admitted.
Were they original signatures or were they photocopied versions of signatures?
We had copies of those.
It wasn't the only time it allegedly happened. These are 194 DNR orders, part of the lawsuit, that were allegedly photocopied with doctor signatures on them before patients were ever evaluated. Through her attorney, Dr. Sam Van Dam declined to be interviewed, but denies any wrongdoing in court filings. According to this August deposition, she claims she had no idea the practice was happening in her 4 years as the facility's medical director, saying it had never come up. According to records from the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, at least 4,800 long-term care facilities across the country since 2019 have violated patient advance directives, which includes DNRs.
This has to stop. They can't be doing this to other people. You're dealing with people's lives and families.
The lawsuit against the doctor who cared for Leona is still pending in Georgia. Her family's already settled a lawsuit against the facility. Since 2017, Georgia has cited the facility 34 times.
Thousands of people in California are without power, and rescue efforts are underway amid widespread flooding. Plus, more precipitation is on the way.
And coming up, we'll talk with an expert after the state's largest school district canceled classes due to a cyber attack. Stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9.
From your trusted local news source with your first alert forecast, KCRG-TV9 News First at 4 starts now.
And in today's top stories, jury selection started today in the trial of a Cedar Rapids man accused of shooting and killing his father, mother, and sister. Alexander Jackson is charged with murder. The shooting happened in their home in June of 2021. The trial expected to last 9 days.
Today marks a month since a workplace explosion at C60 in Marengo. More than 10 people were hurt at that biodiesel facility that recycles roof shingles. The business was destroyed, and we still don't know to this day what officially caused that explosion.
And tonight, Governor Kim Reynolds will give her condition of the state address. She'll do so from the House chambers in Des Moines. It's her opportunity to lay out her plans for what she wants lawmakers to accomplish in the legislative session. Democrats from both chambers will then give their response.
Well, welcome to our brand new space in our new studio. We got a new desk, some comfy new chairs.
I got a cool mouse here.
Okay, well, that's not new. But I'm really happy for you.
I don't know if I like this, though. There was a wall between us for 6 weeks. I didn't have to. I kind of enjoyed, Kevin, that distance between us.
No, I want you to finish that sentence.
It was actually pretty good. It was actually pretty good. I didn't mind that. I thought we should stay that way.
And I always thought you were the nice one.
Let's take a look at our weather, which again is very quiet right now. There's a look at our city cams in Jim's favorite, Piasta.
Yes, Piasta looks beautiful.
Marion and Manchester. We've got some filtered sunshine, some beautiful sunsets out there, and we'll indeed have that continue this evening. No problems this evening. We're at 33 in Dubuque, 34 Cedar Rapids, 26 Waterloo, and 39 degrees in Iowa City. When we look at our dew points, they're pretty close. That will play a role tonight because as that temperature and dew point get closer together, fog can form. We also have that possibility of some drizzle, and temperatures will drop with very, very light winds also in place, and that could lead to some slippery travel spots and stretches as we work our way through the morning hours. So again, I want to stress, this evening it's just fine. As we head after midnight into the morning hours tomorrow with those temperatures hovering right around the freezing mark, patchy drizzle, little wintry mix, some fog possible. That can cause slick travel conditions, very light winds east at 5 to 10. Second system moves our way as we head into the morning hours of Thursday. We'll talk about that and our weekend forecast coming up.
Great. Thanks, Joe.
Well, today, the Cedar Rapids City Council and the mayor started off their regular meeting by remembering one of their own.
I would just like to express our condolences and sympathies on behalf of our city council to our city staff and the family of a 23-year city employee, Mr. Eric Spa.
Now, Eric Spa worked for the city's water department when he disappeared back on May 7th. He'd been driving between work sites, and later that day, the truck was found in the Cedar River near the Edgewood Road Bridge. We spoke to Spa's family, who believe his type 1 diabetes led him to crash the vehicle. They say he used to race cars until his diabetes ended his racing career. Also today, the City Council approved developing a property in the Nubo district. This is in the 12 and 1300 blocks of 3rd Street Southeast. That's near Bruhemia. It's for the company LTRI LLC. And the plan is to develop a 4-story mixed-use building with commercial space on the first floor and residential space above it. It would also include 25 parking spaces at minimum. The city will provide a reimbursement of 100% of the tax increments up to $1.67 million.
Dubuque County officials are considering merging 2 elected county positions. The Telegraph-Herald reporting that they're looking at combining the auditor and the recorder positions. Now, it comes after Recorder John Murphy resigned last week, not long after winning his re-election. The county auditor has taken over the position in the meantime. Iowa code allows for this if a replacement is not found in 40 days. Officials say this would improve the efficiency and save taxpayers money. However, some are concerned about the workload. To officially merge the positions, people would have to submit a petition asking for this. Supervisors would then call for the proposal to be on the November 2024 election at the soonest. Also today, California Governor Gavin Newsom projected a loss of, get this, more than $22 billion in that state's budget for the upcoming fiscal year. He announced it when he laid out his spending priorities for the fiscal year that starts in July. This is also a sharp turnaround from the $98 billion surplus last year. Experts say it's not surprising as California relies heavily on taxes from the richest people there and can change with the economic shift. The loss could signal the end of a decade's worth of economic growth in the country's most populous state.
At least 16 people are dead as relentless rain causes dangerous flooding in California. The rain left roads, highways, and vehicles underwater over the last 2 days. Rescue crews are working constantly to help those stranded amid the flooding. Crews rescued a couple of people from a giant sinkhole and then brought them to the hospital with minor injuries. Another man had to be rescued after being stuck in his car for over an hour. Just so much water. While some neighborhoods are nearly under the water, others are covered in a thick layer of mud left behind by those receding floodwaters.
It surprised us today. It rose very, very fast. And when the alarm bells went for, flood stage, it was rising about 2 feet per hour.
Around 90% of California is under a flood watch or warning. The U.S. Department of Education is proposing new regulations to reduce the cost of federal student loan payments, and this would focus on low-income and middle-income borrowers. It would revise the income driver repayment plan. It ties the amount borrowers owe each month to their income. Now, this new plan would prevent borrowers from having to make payments if they make less than the yearly equivalent of $15 an hour. This is part of President Biden's plan that he first laid out in August. It included his plan to provide student loan debt forgiveness. The Supreme Court is set to hear arguments next month in federal cases challenging that plan.
33,000 students will have to pay, or rather stay, that is, home for a second day tomorrow after a cyber attack hit Des Moines public schools. The district says it hit their technology network, taking internet and network services offline. Cybersecurity incidents involving hackers has become a very big issue, and several school districts in Iowa have fallen victim to them, and that includes Cedar Rapids School District as well as the Linn-Mar School District, very close to home. And here to talk to us a little bit more about cybersecurity issues is Brandon Potter. He's the Chief Technology Officer with Pro Circular Cybersecurity Consulting Company. We've called you here before regarding, school issues. We are seeing this district after district after district. So is there a quick fix? Is it something that districts can expect to see from this point on? I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, to answer your question, no, there isn't a quick fix. I think if there was, we probably wouldn't be here talking about this, right? And so I think it's going to continue. I think there's reasons for that, and I think there's things the schools can work together with to help reduce that risk.
Because it is kind of interesting is that some of the districts have been very tight-lipped about what happened. And it was the belief that if you don't talk about it, you know, it lessens the probability of copycats. But we're still seeing copycats, it seems.
Yeah, and whether they're copycats or new threat actors, those are happening on a daily basis. You know, the whole tight-lippedness maybe isn't necessarily for the copycat, quote unquote. You know, there's a right time to release information when you have the right information at the right time, to not cause panic, to make sure the questions that were answered and the data that's being disseminated provides answers to the majority of those questions.
And that is understandable, but it's also understandable two different things, is that a lot of times these ransoms are being paid, and that's either insurance or taxpayer money, and also people are worried that their information is being shared. So I mean, there's a real public concern when you hear about these hackings and these efforts to shut down entire systems.
Yeah, there absolutely is. And, you know, we can talk the variables. I think we don't have enough time for that. But, you know, there are reasons to withhold that information. And, you know, I candidly agree we need to release that information when the time is right. You know, these cyber attacks, they're not fun. You have students, you have faculty, you have employees. All of these people are going through a bad time right now. And so I think it's key that although we may be upset or others may be upset about the tight-lippedness, we have to show empathy in this matter, because that's going to go a long way to ensuring that the response is appropriate.
It's appropriate and that a solution is found. Very quickly though, why is it schools? Why are we seeing this happening? And we're seeing it in some government agencies, but it seems we're seeing it a lot with schools.
Yeah, we're going to continue to see it a lot with schools right now. Hackers are targeting the path of least resistance.
That's it.
So lack of funding, when there is funding, there's rules around how that funding can be used. You know, private sector and state-focused sectors need to be working together. There is a path forward. There is a path out of this. It's going to take all of us. And, you know, I hate to say it, sometimes these breaches and these attacks are what's required in order to get the right attention by the right people at the right time as we approach February and move into the Capitol for some of the big pushes.
Real quickly, when you say the right people, are you talking about lawmakers? I mean,
lawmakers, experts. We should all be talking together for the greater good to fix this problem and put steps and milestones in place to increase our resilience against these cyber attacks.
Our thanks right now to Brandon Potter with Pro Circular joining us. We're seeing this, it seems more inevitable.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
As inflation started to rise, many Americans quickly took a second look at their budget and financial planning. And there are still things people can do over the next 6 months to help with that. Stay with us here on your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9.
Your trusted local news source with Nicole Agee, Jim Mertens, and Chief Meteorologist Joe Winters. You're watching KCRG-TV9 News, first at 4.
Hi. Get real-time updates from the KCRG-TV9 First Alert Mobile Weather Lab. It's your first alert to stay safe this winter season.
The KCRG-TV9 First Alert Mobile Weather Lab is sponsored by IMON Communications.
KCRG.com, delivering your first alert weather.
Now, your First Alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Joe Winters.
Real nice, quiet evening in store as we've seen throughout the entire day. There's a look at live pinpoint Doppler radar. We don't notice much right now appearing on radar, but let's go ahead and pinpoint Johnson County, because you do see from time to time a little speck of green moving through. Now, none of that certainly is reaching the ground. However, it's an indication that there's moisture in the atmosphere right now that is out there. As more moisture gathers, we get a bit colder colder as we head through the overnight hours. Some fog or some drizzle or freezing drizzle could develop. So again, pinpointed you on live pinpoint Doppler radar, the idea that there's moisture in place. And in fact, on your first alert, we are highlighting just that chance of drizzle and rain as we head through the overnight and morning hours, and then icy conditions. Again, look, developing after midnight, continuing into the morning hours. By noon, precipitation should be in the form of drizzle or fog. It's the morning hours that we're watching for some of the slickest of the travel conditions that we'll see. Now, take a look at Pinpoint Futurecast. Evening is quiet, as we said, but look, by midnight, we already have some specks of precipitation out there, some areas of mixed precipitation. It continues to move off to the east as we head from midnight all the way through the morning hours, so that's 6 a.m. It pushes through. I don't think we'll see this clearing. I think we'll actually see some clouds and fog, and that continues then into the afternoon hours with that possibility of some patchy drizzle. Then, second storm system, watch Wednesday evening, comes up across southeastern Iowa. That could spread a little bit of a wintry mix Wednesday night into early Thursday with an additional chance of some slick travel conditions. So keep that in mind for the next couple of mornings. Tonight, down to 27 in Dubuque, 28 in Cedar Rapids, 29 Iowa City, Washington at 28. Mostly cloudy skies, patchy drizzle and mix, and east wind at 5 to 10. Zonecast for tomorrow. Let's take a look. 42 in Harpers Ferry, 43 in Farley. That patchy areas of freezing drizzle with us across areas of our northwest zone as well. 36 in Fredericksburg, 40 in Waterloo. Lighter northeast breezes across our central zone. Center Point at 43, 39 tomorrow in Cedar Rapids. We'll make 43 in Iowa City. Could hit 49 in Washington with a mostly cloudy sky. Winds around from the northwest Thursday and Friday. There's your strongest winds, especially on Thursday. We'll feel that chill in the air like January should. Then you look at Saturday and Sunday. Look at the southerly breeze that's building. Guess what? That's some warmth that's headed our way. That will be with us as we head through next week. So again, as the winds change, our temperatures change as well. On Thursday, with the cooler winds, we are looking for temperatures near 30 degrees, which is more seasonal. But take a look at our 9-day forecast. 39 on Wednesday, 30 and 29 as we end the week. So it's chilly, right? Take a look at Saturday. We already start to warm things up. We're back up near 38 degrees. Then as we work our way into Sunday, we're at 44 degrees. Looks like by the time we head into Monday, also 44, there will be an additional chance of some scattered showers on Monday, and also could see a little bit of a rain-snow mix as we work our way into Tuesday with that high near 39 degrees.
You guys are both wearing new socks today, I feel.
Fancy.
I'm going to call my daughter Anna. This is a Christmas present from her.
Nice.
She got me these socks specifically for the set debut. So there you go.
Serious?
There you go. Way to go, Anna.
I love it.
I know she's watching
socks
today, too.
Very nice. Well, we've seen a roller coaster financially over the last year, especially with rising inflation and increasing interest rates.
Investigative reporter Rachel DePompa spoke to an expert about solid financial steps you can take over the next 6 months in this Watching Your Wallet.
There are a number of ways your money can be affected by inflation. For one, borrowing money is more expensive right now. 2, unemployment could rise. And 3, the stock market can be volatile. Dion Pouncil is the founder of the hedge fund Pouncil Capital and Money School, a financial literacy and educational platform. He says there are a number of things that you can do to start building the foundation of your financial future when the economy is murky. Number 1, get your estate planning in order. Get a trust or a will in place to protect you, your assets, and the things that you want to pass down to your future generations.
Number 2 would actually be getting a family corporate entity set up and setting up some corporate bylaws for your family entity. That way, you guys are not moving as employees, but you're moving around as business owners or entrepreneurs, and that will help you tremendously when it comes to tax saving.
Pouncil says once you have those financial pillars in place, then you can decide how to invest by building a legacy playbook, as he calls it. He means assets that you acquire where you don't intend to be the person to reap the benefits. Instead, you look to help your family build generational wealth. Getting a good financial advisor in the next 6 months could also help. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Well, we welcome you to our brand new interview set in our brand new TV9 studio.
What are we calling this area now?
My mom has called it the chat lounge, and I feel like it should stick. I like it.
It's bringing up AOL vibes for me.
A little bit.
But I'm gonna allow it. We all agree, though, don't you feel like we need some sort of floral arrangement?
Or some greenery or something there?
Something. None of the dudes.
I think. No,
Oh my gosh. Oh my God, I think our GM is watching. Please be on your best behavior.
Beth is joining us because you're just seeing this little area and you got to see a little more to show people.
I got to poke around is really what we're saying. And so let's take a look at one of the highlights of this new studio that is really the same old space where we brought you newscasts for like 10 years before we were in that temporary space. But it is a huge wall. And this wall has different, actually the huge wall is in the weather lab, and that's where our 5 meteorologists can work. Not all 5 are there today. I think we have 3 back there right now. Unlike the news studio where we have, you know, our news set, we don't work in here on the news side generally. We have desks out in the newsroom with the reporters, photographers, and producers. But it's different with the weather lab. They live, work, breathe, and sleep there.
They're constantly working.
But it's a great space because it allows them to do like what Joe is, talking to radio stations, looking up forecasts, and also delivering news and weather forecasts in a different space in the studio. It's enormous.
And also as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the key. It's not just for show, it's so that they can be gathering the information and within a moment's notice be on the air.
Just so you know, you're not allowed to go back there.
I've been told
because you have a bad track record.
Oh yeah, he hits monitors. Speaking of monitors, the 9-paneled array is the next feature in this new studio that's pretty cool. That's where Joe did his weather forecast just moments ago, and that is where Nicole and Jim actually started the First at 4 newscast. It is huge. I don't know if you get that perspective from home, but it's a pretty big, dynamic grouping of monitors that allow us to really zone in on different parts of a story, especially that are video-driven. Right. All right, what do we have next? My favorite. Touch screen monitors. Now we have 2 of them, not just 1 but 2, and that's right, they're interactive by touch. You can also zoom in and highlight, what do they call it?
Telestrator.
Telestrator. Yeah. I'm learning.
I'm hip.
To highlight and emphasize some portion of the news information. So we're really delighted to have this new space. Thank you for bearing with us in our previous home.
Thank you.
The hostage room, as I affectionately called it.
Yeah, no, right. Well, the other thing that you're going to see a lot is that the lighting is amazing, and you can change the colors depending upon the newscast.
I'm sorry.
I didn't even notice that.
And shoes matter again.
Shoes matter. Okay, I have 2 pair, this and then a black pair. That's all you're going to see. I'm not a shoe person. Nicole, focus on her. She has so many beautiful shoes.
Cannot wait to show them all off. Thanks, Beth, for the tour. And stay with us. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back, yeah.
At home for free. The following KCRG-TV9 Show You Care message is sponsored by Green State Credit Union.
Hoover Elementary 5th grade teacher Amy Owen deserves an A+ for education. Mrs. Owen is fair and nurturing to all students, not just her own. She uses positive reinforcement in the classroom, helping students excel. I'm KCRG-TV9's Kai O'Mara. Nominate someone you know who deserves an A+ for education.
I'm Jeff Disteroff with Green State Credit Union. Thank you for supporting A+ for education.
When the snow begins to fall and the roads are completely covered, get your first alert from the most trusted weather team.
Get real-time road conditions from the KCRG-TV9 Mobile Weather Lab. It'll help you make wise decisions so you'll be prepared for any type of winter weather across Eastern Iowa.
Bringing you live updates from the road.
The snow that just fell is falling on top of the previous snow, making it very slick.
The KCRG-TV9 First Alert Mobile Weather Lab is sponsored by IMON Communications.
Time now for our Feel Good at 4. A black bear in Connecticut has found a unique place to hunker down to hibernate this winter, and it's even led to his own TikTok and Instagram accounts.
But it is also causing some stress for his new neighbors. And Lauren Richardson introduces us to the family who now has a bear sleeping under their back porch.
It was a walk outside that turned into a crazy encounter about 2 weeks ago.
My dog started growling, and then that's when my girlfriend got, scared and ran to the house. And then I turned my head and saw the bear, and we were staring right at each other. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
A black bear hanging out underneath Vincent Dashikevich's deck.
He's massive, yeah. But he's super chill. He hasn't really done much, so far.
His family contacted the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection.
As they said, the first one, the one most common, is to just leave him alone, let him be, as long as he's not, creating disturbance or, bothering anybody.
It's a common occurrence here in Connecticut. We get about 15 to 20 calls a year about bears denning under decks and porches.
Jason Hawley with Deep says there are measures you can take in this situation.
The most important thing is just to leave it alone, right? So not go over and continuously be looking underneath, kind of stay out of the area, keep your dogs or your kids away from that area. We encourage people to call us if they discover a bear under their deck, because it could be, you know, a bear that we've been looking for.
Meanwhile, Dashikevich says it's barely been an issue, and they've named him Marty.
The reach has been crazy. The first TikTok video blew up. That's when I created like the socials for Marty.
And they want to make his stay as comfortable as possible.
They're essentially sleeping while they're in the den, so you can think of it as like a 5-month-long nap.
And my parents are a little worried. They don't want any problems happening, especially with the dog. But he hasn't done anything so far, so we're just going to let him be and keep him to himself.
Let sleeping bears lie.
Don't wake him up.
Thanks for joining us for KCRG-TV9 News, first at 4.
Stay with us for the TV9 News at 5, coming up next.
Started.
Yeah, just started today, Beth. And this week, the testimony will begin, but a jury needs to be picked first. So we are not sure exactly when that portion will begin this week. Maybe tomorrow afternoon is what we're hearing. According to court filings, potential jurors were given a supplemental questionnaire to aid in the selection process. And it's unclear what questions are on that document, but they were agreed to by both parties in this case.
Alexander Jackson, now 22, sticks to his story that he is not the person who killed his family inside their home on Oakleaf Court Northeast. But prosecutors plan to prove otherwise.
It is clear that this was a horrendous murder. That was more than just a murder, it was an execution.
Jackson called police on Tuesday morning, June 15th, 2021. He reported that he woke up to the sound of gunshots and that he and his father had been shot by an intruder. According to a criminal complaint, Jackson told police he was shot in the foot during a struggle with a masked man over the rifle. But police arrived to find no signs of forced entry or any indication the home had been burglarized. They also said Jackson admitted his father had recently advised that he needed to find a job or move out. After Jackson's arrest, we heard from a friend who was shocked by the allegations.
He was really promising. He was an Eagle Scout. He was doing good in school. He was at the University of Iowa. Lots of friends.
Meanwhile, community members gathered for a vigil at Kennedy High School. That's where Jackson's sister Sabrina had just graduated the year before, her friends mourning her loss.
She meant a lot to me. She was really, really important. We were close for like 8 years, and it's just overwhelming.
Sabrina was just 19. Jackson's parents, Jan and Melissa, were each in their 60s.
And Jackson's trial is expected to take 9 days. Of course, that can always fluctuate. We'll have updates each day here on TV9 as well as on our website, KCRG.com. In the studio, Kristen Rogers, KCRG-TV9 News.
Kristen, thank you. We are now taking a live look from Des Moines, where, as you see, Governor Kim Reynolds delivering her Condition of the State address. We will be covering this. We'll be listening in just a minute, but if you want to catch the whole thing starting now, head to KCRG.com.
And as Beth said, we will be joining it in progress, but first let's head over to meteorologist Joe Winters. A quick look at the first alert forecast, Joe.
And it does include that potential of some freezing drizzle or some drizzle and fog. With temperatures near freezing overnight, that could potentially again produce some slick spots and stretches for the morning hours of our Wednesday. That looks like the best chance of seeing that. Then there's a second system that moves in, also with a little bit of a wintry mix possible. That'll then be early on Thursday. We look right now at our Dubuque City cam. It looks pretty quiet across the area, but the temperatures are hovering around or slightly below that freezing mark in many locations, and the dew points are close as well. You put that all together, that leads to that patchy drizzle or freezing drizzle overnight. Look for that low to get down in the mid to upper 20s. Give us some timing on Pinpoint Futurecast and take a look at our complete weekend forecast coming up.
All right, thank you, Joe. Well, as you just saw, Governor Reynolds has now taken the podium at the state capitol.
And we're going to take you again live to our Condition of the State address. Let's listen in.
And more. Iowa's status as a beacon for freedom and opportunity has endured. We've been recognized as the most fiscally responsible state in the country. We're ranked in the top 10 states to live in America, and we continue to be ranked the #1 state for opportunity. And in a world increasingly marked by chaos, Iowa's strength and stability stand out. Our goal today and throughout this legislative session is to make sure that it stays that way. Which brings me to what's new, or rather, who's new. Yesterday, 53 members of the House and Senate were sworn into office for their first term. That's more than a third of the Iowa legislature. There are always new faces in the chamber at the beginning of each General Assembly. But this year, we have more new members than any time in recent memory. So I want to take a moment to extend my welcome. Thank you for your willingness to serve, for putting in the time that it takes to get here, for making the sacrifices that you've made and will make, and the same goes, of course, for those who are returning. You know, from the outside, it may seem like our state's success is something that just happened, that we went from a deficit to a surplus by chance, that our economy rebounded because, well, that's just what economies do. But there's so much hard work that's gone into it from many of you sitting in this chamber. Of course, none of our success would be possible without the people of Iowa. Hardworking, resilient, innovative. They truly are the backbone of our state. But the changes that we've made in this building over the last few years have helped lay a foundation for Iowa to rise, to become that #1 state for opportunity. It wasn't easy. We've been told time and time again that our bold agenda would wreck our economy, demolish our education system, and lead to the collapse of state government. We've heard these accusations from political opponents, as expected, but we've also heard them from members of the media and even so-called experts. In 2017, when Republicans took control of the legislature, we passed badly needed collective bargaining reform. We were accused of marginalizing and insulting public workers and told that we were, quote, blowing up the system of reason and compromise, that our state government would never be the same. Well, they were right about the last part, but not in the way they expected. And they were wrong about everything else. 6 years after these reforms were implemented, we've seen what's possible when taxpayers have a seat at the table. And we've seen employee relations improve. Public employees now get rewarded for their work, not just for their seniority. And rather than seeing each other as adversaries, our managers and employees are working together. At the Iowa Veterans Home, for example, the number of corrective actions has been cut in half, and the number of terminations have shrunk by more than 50%. We ignored the hysteria, and Iowans are better for it.
We've been listening into Governor Kim Reynolds deliver her 2023 Condition of the State, an upbeat message in which she plainly puts out that since Republicans have been in power, Iowa's economic future has turned around.
And it is one of the many important ceremonial beginnings of this new legislative session, perhaps the most important, as she charts not only what has happened, but what will be happening in the session ahead. You can continue watching it live right now on KCRG.com. Today also marks 1 month since a major fire destroyed much of a commercial building in southwest Cedar Rapids.
One woman who worked in that building says she's still struggling to get her operation back up and running. Stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9.
Your trusted local news source with Beth Malicki, Jim Mertens, Chief Meteorologist Joe Winters, and Scott Sable with sports. You're watching KCRG-TV9 News at 6.
If you're a local businesswoman is doing everything she can to rebuild her livelihood. It's been 1 month since an exterior fire spread throughout a commercial building off of 33rd Avenue in Cedar Rapids. Within hours, every business inside was damaged from fire, smoke, water, or a combination of the three.
And one of those business owners is still reeling from that loss while trying to get back to where she was before this tragedy struck. And KCRG-TV9's Libby Randall is here to share her journey. And Libby, it's been a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. If you remember, then you can recall that this fire started outside of the building, but it was directly in the center out back. So it spread very quickly. 2 businesses owned by Simone Earle were among the many that were a total loss. She owned and operated a notary business and a boutique, both in memoriam of late loved ones. That's why she tells us this loss has been especially hard. While she had insurance, it wasn't enough to cover the equipment, merchandise, and other items in both businesses. A month later, she finally decides to start an online fundraiser and sell other products to try to rise from the ashes.
I never dreamed that one day I'd build all of these things and people would love seeing me and I have customers, and finally I'm at a place where I'm doing well in business. But then to sit and watch it all burn down, that was the most challenging part for me.
Well, thankfully no one was injured in this fire, but as you can see and as we continue to hear from businesses, everything inside was a total loss. Earle's GoFundMe is linked with this story online. We also reached out to several of the other businesses and organizations that were in the building to see where they are in rebuilding since the fire. We haven't heard back yet, but again, as you can see, everything inside was a total loss. Live in studio, Libby Randall, KCRG-TV9 News.
That was terrible. Libby, thank you so much for giving us an update on their situation. Well, if you haven't noticed, we are in a totally new set here at TV9.
And we're so happy.
Yes.
We're going to take you on a tour of the studio, share how some of these resources will help us tell you about the important news happening all across eastern Iowa. So please stay with us on TV9.
Marshall. Catch a big one, send a pic to John's Big Old Fish.
Monday night at 6 and Friday morning at 5.
Sponsored by our friends at Quality Auto Collision and Glass in Marion. Bye.
Live well on KCRG-TV9, sponsored by Unity Point Health.
Now, your first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Joe Winters.
Seeing that a little light snow or a little light freezing drizzle can cause some problems, and indeed, that's the case as we head through tonight. We'll watch it carefully. There will be some patchy drizzle around. As you can see, that's highlighted on your first alert, starting as we head into the overnight hours. We're also highlighting ice. That's where we can see some of the patchy freezing drizzle. That lasts into the morning hours until temperatures warm enough. After that, there could be some scattered areas of fog around, but we do have to watch this specifically if we could see some slick travel conditions. Right now, there's a little bit of precipitation showing up, not yet reaching the ground. It's cloudy across eastern Iowa, but look off to the north and west as we pinpoint for you right along Highway 18, just west of Mason City. Notice the color. It's kind of that freezing rain or sleet color that you see on top. Yeah, that's what's headed in our direction, especially across, let's say the northern 2/3 of the state. And that's why we do want to let you know that as we move through the overnight into the morning hours, that possibility of some slick conditions could exist. Pinpoint Futurecast tonight shows you some of that timing as well. Really starts to bring some in after midnight across portions of eastern Iowa and then continues to push it through the area as we continue to move off toward the east. I think clouds, we're going to see also some fog continue on and off as we head through the day. And then Wednesday night into Thursday, yet another system down to the south will move our way. That again could bring additional pockets of precipitation in the form of a wintry mix. So again, Thursday morning, some scattered slippery spots possible. There's a look at our forecast tonight. Mostly cloudy, patchy drizzle in a mix. Look for temperatures in the 20s from 23 in Decorah to about 29 in Iowa City. That's zone-wide. All the areas seeing very light winds, east at 5 to 10, and a northerly wind takes over tomorrow, right about 5 to 15. As chilly as 34 in Charles City, as warm as 48 degrees down in Washington. So again, as temperatures warm, more of a drizzle or fog situation. So it's the morning hours that we are most concerned with. Then we look ahead as we move through Thursday. Stronger winds are with us out of the northwest. We'll feel a bit of a chill Friday as well, but then you see Saturday and Sunday. Southerly wind with us, warmer conditions building. But is it going to last? That's a big question. There's plenty of Arctic air out there. Here's what it looks like as we just look at some of the Arctic air staying well to the north. You see the United States well down at the bottom of your picture. Extremely cold right now in areas of Siberia. And of recent note, last 10 years, February across Iowa has been colder than normal. Could that be a trend for what we see? We'll take a look. Let's take a look right now at what we have on our 9-day forecast, where we'll notice conditions again cooling down both Thursday and Friday. We're at 30 degrees on Thursday, 29 degrees on Friday. As we extend that out, you'll notice that Saturday and Sunday the warmth is back. We're in the mid-40s on Sunday. Some rain possible on Monday, so a little mix, a little freezing drizzle from time to time, but overall January still staying warm.
It is, but that freezing drizzle's no joke.
Not at all. Got to take it seriously, so we'll watch it. And Kai will certainly have updates tomorrow morning on the latest road conditions as that develops.
Joe, thank you. Well, as I'm sure you've noticed, we are in our new set here at TV9.
Solid construction. KCRG-TV9's Nicole Agee gives us a tour of what these new tools and resources have to offer us as well as you.
Welcome to our brand new studio. This is a brand new set in our new studio. It's an interview set, so we'll be able to welcome guests in to be interviewed on any of our newscasts. We're going to head over here to where our weather team will get to utilize this green screen. Now, this is how we're used to doing weather, where the meteorologists can't wear green because the graphics would show up right through them, but they've got another option. This beautiful array monitor where they can put in their weather graphics. We in the news department will also be using this, as we can put video in here as well. Lots of options. There are a lot of monitors, 25 of them in our new studio. What's unique about these is that we can put any image into this monitor and then we can write on it. So whether it's a map or if we want to really zero in on something in an image for one of our newscasts, we'll be able to use these monitors in this way. The anchor desk, which you've seen lots of already. And what's unique about this studio is we can make the newscasts look a little bit different based on the lighting. We'll show you these monitors back here. It's probably the best way to see the differences. You see that pink and blue, we call that our sunset lighting. The morning show can utilize a different one. This is called a sunrise lighting setting. So really giving each newscast here at TV9 a different, fun, unique look.
For you, a fun, unique look, because that was the weather lab.
We've got a huge space, which I really like, because we were kind of in a hallway almost before in our old weather lab. It is so nice to have the space to work.
Because you don't just deliver the forecasts from back there during severe weather. That's your office.
Well, you saw us moving in. The filing cabinets are coming back, the shelves are coming back, so we're moving back in and making a home.
Well, I'm so glad, because for the last few months you've been in our space in the newsroom, and it's been loud.
This has been nice. The last day and a half, it's been really nice in here. I will tell you that.
And management just came down with a memo, keep it clean.
Easy.
I know.
Keep it nice and clean.
So shiny.
A lot of dusting. Coming up next in sports, Scott will announce 3 new finalists for the Athlete of the Week.
And he'll also have a special feature on an Iowa football player who graduated 18 years ago after he starred for the Hawkeyes. Stay with your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9.
KCRG-TV9 Sports is sponsored by Carousel Motors.
Now, KCRG-TV9 Sports with Scott Zabel.
I love it when athletes give back and set an example for other athletes, and that's exactly what Jamel Lewis is doing. Jamel Lewis started running back for Iowa from 02 to 05. Lewis gashed Michigan in the Big House for over 100 yards and a 34-9 beatdown. That will go down as one of the biggest days of his life.
Jamel John Lewis.
He had another big day this winter at Carver Hawkeye Arena when he graduated 18 years after leaving Iowa.
Finishing what I started, I understand now that my talents and my abilities will only get me so far. There's some things that need to be done to be able to make a difference and make an impact the way I want to within the community.
After his football days, Jamel dedicated his life to coaching youth athletes.
Rip through those arm tackles, got it?
And coaching football and track and field at Jefferson High School. That also played a big role in getting his degree.
Plus my son's watching, he's in high school now over at Jefferson. And as a coach, to be an inspiration to my athletes, like, what kind of coach would I be if I'm telling my athletes, hey, you need to go pursue your dreams, go finish college, go to school, and I didn't do so.
Jamel also promised his mom he would graduate, and on graduation day, Lewis received a surprise of a lifetime.
And she didn't tell me that she was going to be in town. She got in town on that Wednesday. I walked the stage on that Friday. And my wife, her mom, they all kept it a big secret from me. So the day we got down to Carver Hawkeye Arena, coming up the stairs to see my mom there waiting for me before I crossed the stage was a really, really big deal.
It's been a busy year for Jamel. He also opened his own gym on the southwest side of Cedar Rapids near Jefferson High School.
So as a necessity, we went ahead, opened up the space for our community, our kids, to give them a spot to be able to, one, not only get better, two, be able to do it when times are rough outside for the weather, and just be able to provide an atmosphere for our athletes to be able to get better.
Lewis hopes Riot Gym will not only get the youth off the streets, but also give them a place to train and become the best athletes they can be.
Give them a place where, one, is safe, two, they can get good coaching, and you can also develop and hone in on your talents, right? It's been gratifying to be able to have something that we can use as a resource to help our kids get better.
Thanks for everything, Jamel, and I know your mom is proud, and go check out Riot Gym. It's pretty cool. Finally, 3 new finalists for the Athlete of the Week, sponsored by Cedar Rapids Toyota. All wrestlers. Athlete number 1 is world champion Ben Keeter, who just played in the Under Armour All-American football game. Athlete number 2 is Ryder Block from Waverly Shell Rock, who ranks 3rd in the country at his weight. Athlete number 3 is state champion Brandon Paez of Lisbon. To vote, go to the main page at KCRG.com. I'll feature the winner Thursday night at 10, and I love what you guys did with the new digs. I think you did a great job.
I did nothing.
You didn't do it?
No, I
I
didn't
was
do a
told
thing.
You guys.
I put on lipstick.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that.
And you're still giving us reliable forecasts.
And we've got to talk about the possibility it could get slippery tonight. So kind of watch for that during the morning hours. Not this evening, but you already see on satellite and radar some of that light precipitation approaching Mason City and Spencer. Now, it's not necessarily reaching the ground, but there's moisture out there. So keep that in mind as we work into the morning hours. Areas of freezing drizzle possible with some slick driving conditions.
Thanks, Joe.
And thank you for joining us for KCRG-TV9 News at 6.
And I hope to see you again tonight at
Right
10
here.
in our new digs.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Hair.
It's a hidden cause of cancer found inside the home, and tonight one eastern Iowa county is heightening its effort to reduce your exposure to radon.
Advocates push for transparency after another Iowa school district is hit with a cyber attack. But experts say that transparency can be dangerous.
From your trusted local news source with your first alert forecast, KCRG-TV9 News at 10 starts now.
Well, tonight, as you can see, we are in, finally, our new set following weeks of construction, but we're also looking ahead to some potentially slippery conditions tomorrow morning.
And it's so important. So First Alert Storm Team meteorologist Joe Winters is joining us, also in the new weather lab. And what should people be looking at ahead of the morning commute?
Just realize that tomorrow morning there could be some slippery conditions across eastern Iowa. Right now, as we take a look at pinpoint Doppler radar, you do see a lot of color on there. Now, I'll tell you that most of that is not reaching the ground at all. Some of that is resulting in some patchy fog, but overall it tells us that there's moisture out there, temperatures getting close to the dew point, so some drizzle or fog will develop. And with temperatures at or near freezing, guess what that means? The potential for some slick conditions for your morning commute. So we'll definitely be watching that very, very carefully. Now, as far as what we're going to see as we move through the rest of the day, I think some drizzle and fog. That'll kind of be with us on and off as we head through our Wednesday. There'll be an additional chance for a bit of a wintry mix. That will happen early on Thursday as a second storm system moves our way. Take a look at our Dubuque City Cam time lapse. This was this morning, the fog that moved in and moved out fairly quickly. You do see some clearing in the skies and then kind of a milky sunshine as we watch the sunset tonight, and now the clouds are overhead. Those temperatures, again, very close to the dew points, currently sitting somewhere near that freezing mark, upper 20s, lower 30s, very, very light winds. So that's the perfect conditions, again, for some of that fog and drizzle to develop, which could freeze as temperatures drop down in the mid-20s. We'll take a look at storm system number 2. Some timing on that for you coming up.
The condition of our state is strong.
That was Governor Kim Reynolds tonight delivering her 6th Condition of the State address. And in the yearly speech, the governor lays out her top priorities that she's looking to tackle this year.
KCRG-TV9's Emily Schrod listened in on that address and joins us now live. So, Emily, tell us more about what the governor expects to see passed this session.
Like we expected, one of the first things that the Governor Reynolds spoke about was her school voucher program. She introduced it last session, but it never got passed. Governor Reynolds appears in a commercial that started airing this morning promoting those school vouchers. The ad is running statewide from Priorities for Iowa, an organization that furthers conservative causes. The group's treasurer is a former chief of staff for Governor Reynolds. She calls it school choice. The state would contribute $7,598 to pay for private schooling. That's the same amount the state provides for each student attending public school. Critics say this takes needed dollars from public education, which is where more than 90% of Iowa's children learn.
Our first priority in this legislative session, and what I will be focusing on over the next 4 years, is making sure that every child is provided with a quality education. And in 3 years, every family will have a choice in education, and no child will be limited by income or zip code.
The governor also proposed making changes to Iowa's laws regarding medical malpractice. She believes that the current situation is making it harder for Iowans to find maternity care.
This is the year that we must enact common sense tort reform to stop the out-of-control verdicts that are driving our OBGYN clinics out of business and medical school graduates out of our state.
Senator Zach Walz gave the Democratic response following the address. He criticized the voucher plan, calling it harmful to small towns, especially rural communities. He added it would only help people who can already afford to send their students to private schools. Live in the studio, Emily Schrod, KCRG-TV9 News.
All right, thank you, Emily. On the national scale, one of the Republican-led U.S. House's priorities will be investigating the FBI and the Justice Department. Today, House lawmakers passed a bill to create a subcommittee to look into what they call weaponizing the federal government. It passed along party lines. The committee will look at the Justice Department and FBI's ongoing investigations, like those involving former President Donald Trump. Democrats argue Republicans want to undermine the rule of law.
Jury selection is now underway in the trial of the Cedar Rapids man accused of killing his family. That was in June of 2021 on the northeast quadrant of town. 22-year-old Alexander Jackson is charged with first-degree murder on 3 counts due to his 3 family members who died. Now, that night, he called police, claiming an intruder broke into his home and shot him as well as his father. But when police arrived, they found Jan, Melissa, and their 19-year-old daughter Sabrina all dead from gunshot wounds. They were in separate rooms of that family's home. Jackson, he also had a gunshot wound to his foot, but investigators did not find any signs there was forced entry or a burglary. Today, attorneys gave potential jurors a questionnaire, and tomorrow the attorneys will question those potential jurors. Testimony could begin as soon as tomorrow, and the trial is expected to last 9 days.
One person is dead after a crash on the interstate this morning in Johnson County. It happened in the northbound lanes of I-380 near North Liberty around 11:30 this morning. Iowa State Patrol says the driver of a sedan was killed after rear-ending a semi-truck. Traffic in the northbound lane slowed as drivers made room for a tow truck. The State Patrol says the driver of the semi-truck was not hurt and says the crash is under investigation. This is the second fatal crash on an interstate in Johnson County this week, with the first on Interstate 80 early Sunday morning.
We're not out of the woods. We expect these storms to continue at least through the 18th of this month.
The governor of California toured damage today after relentless storms caused deadly flooding this week. And the rain isn't stopping, with thousands still under watches and warnings. At least 17 people have died in the state, including a 5-year-old boy who was swept away by floodwaters. Rescue and recovery efforts are underway after those high waters left many people stranded. And that includes in Los Angeles. Look at this, a 15 feet deep sinkhole that swallowed 2 vehicles. It happened last night, leaving at least 4 people trapped. Crews had to rescue another man who was trapped in his car for more than an hour. Officials say the amount of moisture in the ground is just concerning.
We have had 5 atmospheric rivers come into California over 2 weeks. Everything is wet, everything is saturated, everything is at a breaking point, and there's more rain coming.
Areas of California where floodwaters receded are now left under a thick coat of mud.
Black Hawk County public health leaders say people are not taking the dangers of radon seriously. The state health department says Iowa has the largest number of homes testing above the EPA's radon action level. And KCRG-TV9's Brian Tabak spoke to health experts, and he's joining us now live. And Brian, what is the county actually doing now to help make some of these homes safer?
Jim, they do it all year long, but this month the Black Hawk County Department of Public Health is offering take-home test kits that you can detect radon. It's the leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. You also can't taste it nor smell it.
This is my kit, right?
Dozens of people stopped at the Hy-Vee in Waterloo to learn about radon contamination and pick up a test kit Tuesday.
You pop it open, leave it sit for 3 to 7 days. You can seal it up, and then you just drop it in the mail.
It's something Bill Shimmick of Waterloo learned the importance of after he says a friend's house tested at 28 picocurie, 7 times the Environmental Protection Agency's action level.
I bought a test kit and got a reading of just slightly under 10.
According to the EPA, mitigation steps should be taken when levels are higher than 4 picocurie. Radon is a natural gas that seeps through the ground and can get through cracks in houses.
All of Iowa is considered high risk for radon.
Alex Ritz is the Healthy Home Coordinator and educates people on the importance of testing for radon. According to the EPA, 71% of homes are above that action level, although there's no known safe level of exposure to radon.
About 400 deaths a year due to radon, which is about the same as car crashes.
Ritz says people should be testing every few years, and higher levels can be brought down by installing a mitigation system that prevents radon from getting into the home. Knowing a home's radon level is something Shimmick says he's glad he did to keep himself and his family safe.
This friend of mine, when all of a sudden it was 28, that should wake anybody up, I think.
Those tests cost $10 and are available at the local health departments. You just open up the package and collect air from your home for 3 days, seal it back up, and mail it in to get tested. In the studio, Brian Tabak, KCRG-TV9 News.
Brian, thanks. The state's largest school district is canceling classes for a second day following yet another cyber attack in the state.
And it poses the question, will these attacks continue, and how much information can be shared about them?
People know I take classified documents and classified information seriously.
And the president, they're responding after his attorneys found classified documents in his private office.
And our weather really has stayed relatively mild so far this January, but that's not always the case. Take a look at this date back in weather history in 1982. Coming up, we'll take a look at our chances of some slick conditions in the morning for Marion, Hiawatha, and the rest of eastern Iowa. Keep it here on your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9.
Your trusted local news source with Beth Malicki, Jim Mertens, Chief Meteorologist Joe Winters, and Scott Sable with sports. You're watching KCRG-TV9 News at 10.
The Mobile Weather Lab, only on KCRG-TV9.
When the snow begins to fall and the roads are completely covered, get your first alert from the most trusted weather team.
Get real-time road conditions from the KCRG-TV9 Mobile Weather Lab. It'll help you make wise decisions so you'll be prepared for any type of winter weather across eastern Iowa.
Bringing you live updates from the road.
The snow that just fell is falling on top of the previous snow, making it very slick.
The KCRG-TV9 First Alert Mobile Weather Lab is sponsored by I'm On Communications.
Des Moines Public Schools won't have classes tomorrow, the second day in a row of canceled school because of a cybersecurity incident. Des Moines interim superintendent said the district is treating the incident as a ransomware attack and added that state and federal authorities are investigating.
And this is the latest in what has become a series of cyber attacks on school districts throughout Iowa. Often, district officials share very few details of what happened and how it was resolved. And KCRG-TV9's Molly Swain is in the studio after talking to experts about the need for transparency as well as all the challenges that are involved.
That's right. And one of the questions I had today, does sharing information after what happened pose an additional security risk? The cybersecurity expert I spoke with said it's definitely possible, but the leader of the Iowa Freedom of Information Council said there are some details that could be safely shared, yet still aren't.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think so.
Brandon Potter thinks these attacks will continue. He's the chief technology officer with cybersecurity company ProCircular.
Last July, the Cedar Rapids Community School District sent a message to parents and staff saying there had been a cybersecurity incident. The district did pay a ransom, but refused to say how much. In August, the Linn-Mar Community School District announced it was having, quote, technical difficulties. Several days later, leaked screenshots showed a message from hacker group Vice Society. And now, the attack in Des Moines.
They have an obligation to the citizens of the school district, the people who, if you will, own the school district, to share with them what is occurring.
And when I asked Randy Evans, the director of the Iowa Freedom of Information Council, if the districts had been appropriately transparent,
the answer in short is no.
He says transparency is not an immediate concern.
In the immediate aftermath of one of these incidents, job one for the school district is making sure that the network is secure.
But he said eventually taxpayers are owed information.
And I think there is an obligation to let the citizens know how expensive these attacks are.
But according to Potter, making some information public after the fact might create new vulnerabilities.
Depending on the group that's targeting them, yes. Sometimes these groups are looking for local media because that means more people are involved and maybe they're seeking outside help.
He also says districts can lose the trust of parents and taxpayers due to these attacks. Potter added that money is always a factor because cybersecurity is not cheap. In the studio, Molly Swain, KCRG-TV9 News.
I was briefed about this discovery and surprised to learn that there were any government records that were taken there to that office.
President Biden is responding after his attorneys found classified documents at a private office in Washington, D.C. 10 documents are from his time as vice president, and his attorneys immediately turned them over to the National Archives, and the Justice Department is investigating. Republicans are now comparing this to the FBI's raid of former President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home.
I just know that he said it was very irresponsible for President Trump to take classified document to his personal residence and have them in an unsecured location, and it appears he did the same thing.
Agents found more than 100 classified and top-secret documents in former President Trump's Florida home. The White House points to differences in the two cases, including the number of documents found and the level of cooperation with federal authorities. So do you have your numbers ready? Tonight's Mega Millions jackpot is the third largest in the game's history.
It is up to $1.1 billion. Is that enough for you? $568 million for the cash option, that is. So here are the numbers. It is 7, 13, 14, 15, 18, and the Mega Ball is 9. Those are kind of unfair numbers.
Yes.
Really 13, 14, 15, 18, and 9. Mega Millions says this is the 4th time in 4 years the top prize has exceeded $1 billion.
Now, your first alert forecast with Chief Meteorologist Joe Winters.
I'd have 6 kids at those ages, though. That would work. That would be perfect. So we'll have to wait and see if I'm a winner. It's been fun playing on our new studio. I'll tell you that. It's been a lot of fun. But take a look, first of all, at daylight. We are gaining daylight. We saw some sunshine today. We'll see more as we head through the coming days eventually. Back on the winter solstice, 9 hours, 7 minutes, 7 seconds of daylight today. 9 hours, 20 minutes, 45 seconds. We'll do the math for you. That means we have gained, as of this point, 13 minutes and 38 seconds of daylight. And tomorrow, I think we'll see some sun possibly later in the day mixed in with clouds, but overall more clouds than sun. And before that occurs, we've got to watch for some patchy drizzle that falls when temperatures are down low on your first alert, which could cause some slick travel conditions and reduce visibilities. Fog as well a possibility as, again, we watch those dew points and temperatures come together. Already showed you the moisture that's out there, and you see it again on our satellite and radar. There's moisture out there. It's not reaching the ground in most areas right now, as reported, but there have been some patchy spots with some fog. Look for reduced visibilities first and eventually some of that drizzle to push through. Could it create some slick travel? Absolutely. It looks like that will be during the overnight hours into the early morning, and then things will warm up enough that if we keep some fog around, and I do think a little bit more cloudiness than our model indicates through the day, there could be some patchy drizzle, but temperatures then will be above freezing. By the evening hours, we've got some northerly winds that start to filter in as those north winds move in. we are going to see some cooler weather move in for the end of the week, at least for a couple of days. 22 Charles City, 29 Iowa City, 27 degrees in Dubuque. Look for mostly cloudy skies, that patchy drizzle and fog. Tomorrow, normal high is 27. We'll be well above that. 39 in Cedar Rapids, 42 in Dubuque. Washington at 48 degrees. Again, look for that area of drizzle and fog as we head through the day with fairly light winds. And another chance with this storm system down near areas of Oklahoma and Kansas. It continues to move off toward the north and east, and as it does, could spread some of this moisture back toward the state. It's fighting this area of high pressure that's moving in, but close enough that I think Thursday morning a little wintry mix possible. Some northwest winds cool us down for the end of the week. Southerly winds Saturday and Sunday, those start to warm us up. And overall, the forecast that we've had since the beginning of January still continues. Above normal conditions continuing now through the late part of January. Looks like across about the eastern half of the nation. With that, it looks like it could get a little more active as well, as we're looking for that possibility of seeing once again more active precipitation in the form of some rain showers, probably, especially as we head into next week. Let's go ahead and take a look at our 9-day forecast. Drizzle, fog, yeah, it's with us as we can see tomorrow morning. Watch Kai tomorrow morning. He'll have the updated road conditions if any of those roads have turned slick. Thursday, slight chance of a little wintry mix in the morning. 29 degrees our high on Friday as we cool it down, and then look as we head into next week. There's your warmth. Upper 30s, mid 40s. Don't need a January thaw, but we've got one all the way through the early part of next week.
Odd ice fishing, skiing.
Terrible.
Exactly.
Wait till February, I'm telling you. Wait till February.
It's going to happen. Thanks, Joe.
Well, Scott is up next with sports, and it was a busy day on the basketball court.
Yeah, we've got lots of hoops. The Cyclones try to stay undefeated in the Big 12. And we've got more. It was a special night for future Hawkeye Ava Jones in Kansas. It's all next on your 24-hour news source, KCRG-TV9.
Be prepared for Iowa's winters with your First Alert Storm Team on your trusted local news source, KCRG-TV9. When you see news, call Newsline 9 at 365-9999. KCRG-TV9, your trusted local news source. Now, KCRG-TV9 Sports with Scott Zabel.
What a start for the Iowa State men in Big 12 play. The Cyclones trying to go 4-0 tonight, hosting Texas Tech. Jack Leto has more from Ames.
A lot has changed for the Cyclones since the last time they played here at Hilton back on New Year's Eve 2022. They improved to 3-0 in Big 12 play. That's their best start since the year 2000. In order to keep that spot atop the Big 12, they need a win tonight against Texas Tech. Coming off his game winner at TCU, Gabe Kalsher staying hot, scoring Iowa State's first 3 buckets. And 2-pointers are good, but the 3-ball gets the crowd going, and Caleb Grill puts them on their feet. ISU with a shooting gallery, over 50% from 3, including this Kalsher bomb to beat the halftime buzzer. He had 25. Second half, more of the same, plus some wizardry. Taman Lipsey with a little behind-the-back trick. A magician never tells his secrets. Kalsher, you know he had to make that one. This got ugly for the Red Raiders. Smooth sailing on the Hilton Seas. It's a 44-point win for Iowa State. Clones move to 4-0 in Big 12 play and stay tied for first place.
Very unselfish group, a group that's willing to take the best shot that we can get, you know, for our team each time down. Not worried about who that comes from and when it comes in the clock, and hopefully it's something we can keep carrying over.
We're on a really high peak right now. Everyone just gelling together, having a good motor, and we're just going to continue to ride that.
It's still early January. We got a lot in front of us. So right now we're just going to keep doing the same things we've been doing, focus on those daily habits and get right back to work.
ISU travels to Kansas on Saturday. Reporting from Hilton Coliseum, Jack Leto, KCRG-TV9 Sports.
Thanks, Jack. The UNI men also at home tonight looking for their 5th conference win, hosting Murray State after a slow start. The Panthers started to heat up from behind the arc. The pride and joy of Cedar Falls, Logan Wolf with 15 off the bench. Then Bowen Bourne with back-to-back triples to give UNI a 28-24 lead. Former Iowa State coach Steve Prohm back leading Murray State, but he didn't have an answer for Bourne, who finished with a game-high 23, and UNI races their record to 5-2 in the Valley with a 75-67 win. What a scene tonight in Kansas. Future Hawkeye Ava Jones, who was severely injured in a crash in July, made her return to the basketball court, made the first basket of the game for her Nickerson, Kansas team. Congrats to Ava. And finally, Jamel Lewis starred at running back for Iowa From 02 to 05, he gashed Michigan in the Big House for over 100 yards in a 34-9 beatdown. That'll go down as one of his best days of his life. He had another big day this winter at Carver Hawkeye Arena when he graduated 18 years after leaving Iowa.
My son's watching. He's in high school now over at Jefferson. And as a coach, to be an inspiration to my athletes, like, what kind of coach would I be if I'm telling my athletes, hey, you need to go pursue your dreams, go finish college, go to school, and I didn't do so.
Jermel also promised his mom he would graduate, and on graduation day, Lewis received a surprise of a lifetime.
And she didn't tell me that she was going to be in town. She got in town on that Wednesday. I walked the stage on that Friday. And my wife, her mom, they all kept it a big secret from me. So the day we got down to Carver Hawkeye Arena, coming up the stairs to see my mom there waiting for me before I crossed the stage was a really, really big deal.
It's been a busy year for Jermel. He also opened his own gym on the southwest side of Cedar Rapids near Jefferson High School.
Opened up a space for our community, our kids, to give them a spot to be able to, one, not only get better, two, be able to do it when times are rough outside for the weather, and just be able to provide an atmosphere for our athletes to be able to get better.
Go check out Riot Gym, and I know Mom is proud.
Absolutely.
Pretty cool.
Should be.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott. We'll be right back.
KCRG-TV9 Sports is sponsored by McGrath Family of Dealerships.
From the hardwood of eastern Iowa, it's High School Hoops live on KCRG 9.2. Week after week, these athletes play their hearts out. Watch their stories unfold as these athletes pursue their athletic dreams. Tuesday, Washington and Xavier take to the court for a girls' basketball match. Live coverage starts at 7:30 p.m. Check local listings on kcrg.com/9.2 to find your provider.
Scattered light drizzle and fog develop tonight. A lot of that not reaching the ground, what you're seeing, but with it out there, that's the possibility. With temperatures dropping below freezing as we head into the morning, some slippery spots are possible. Certainly, again, as we mentioned, Kyle have that updated on road conditions. Right now, all roads reported seasonal driving conditions, waiting for that fog to develop. Overnight low near 27. Another chance of a little wintry mix early Thursday. Briefly cooler, briefly down in the upper 20s for Friday, near 30 on Thursday. And then for the weekend, we'll warm it up, dry it off for both Saturday and Sunday. Highs close to, if not topping, 40 degrees.
People watching carefully for home, did you notice? They switched sides.
People did. You have
out.
noticed.
Well, thanks for staying with us at 10 anyhow.
Yeah, we'll see you again tomorrow in our new home.
Yeah.